What up guys, Commander, and welcome to a new video where I'm going to be doing something a little bit different, and it's something that I didn't actually intend to do a video on, but it's something that in the process of experimenting for Traitor 3, I managed to figure out how to do, and I thought, you know what, this would make an absolutely great video, because I didn't actually intend for what I was doing today to work out as well as it did in my own time, and that's going to be swapping out models within a skeletal mesh without having to rebind the skeleton or do any weight painting. So, to briefly explain what I mean, essentially when you have a skeleton model, you have a mesh binded to the skeleton which allows the mesh to move and be animated. However, if you change a part of that model and you, for example, replace the head or replace the leg or hand, and then parent it to the skeleton, it's not going to animate properly. And there's a reason for this. It's because in order for the skeleton to move properly with a mesh, it needs to be weight painted, which tells the bone which part of the model to move and how much it needs to be deformed. So what I'm going to show you today is how to get what I have on screen currently, where I have a stormtrooper that has a prosthetic hand and knee, without having to do any skeleton bindings or weight painting whatsoever. So what I have here is the skeleton model for a stormtrooper from Vader Immortal, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach this model with a prosthetic hand and a knee, or like a metallic knee. So what I'm going to do to start off with is I'm going to click select all, deselect the model, and I'm going to delete the skeleton, right? Now there's a specific reason for doing this, it's because we don't actually need that skeleton, right? And I'll explain it more later on. So what we need to do is also need to get rid of the, I don't need to rename, we need to delete the skin, and we need to go to editable mesh and click element, right, and we need to get rid of the parts that we need to actually get rid of, so that being the hand and the knee joints, right, which is pretty easy because this model is quite like blocky and whatnot, so that's the two bits that we actually don't need because that's the bits that we're replacing. So now if I go into file and click import, and here we have the cybernetic hand, right, that we're going to use in replacement, right? So all you need to do is just replace it by just pushing it into the position that it needs to be in. If you want better results, make it more accurate. It's as simple as that. If you want better results out of what you want, then make it more accurate. I'm not particularly too fussed about how accurate to make it because I'm literally only just doing this for the sake of the video. Right, so that's the hand scaled to what and position in what I would think would be a decent enough position. Right, now onto the knee. So if I import the leg mesh, so this is the leg for that I'm going to use as a prosthetic, and if you pay attention to it, it's actually the same leg as the B2 battle droid from Star Wars Battlefront 2, just sectioned off to only get what I need. So again, it actually works, as you saw in the video at the start of the video, it actually works quite well, which I'm quite surprised by, but anyway, so that's what we need to do, is position this rotate it properly and position it into the correct position. That's it like that. Now I need to do a little bit of editing with this mesh because this back bit here I don't actually need. It's a little bit unnecessary because it's sticking out of the model and I don't want it like that. What I want is I want it to give the illusion as it does when in the end video that we end up with that you saw beforehand, that it's basically not a full prosthetic leg, it just looks like it's a prosthetic knee and as if the prosthetic leg is in the boot, right? So what I need to do is I need to get rid of the stormtrooper, I need to go into polymesh, and I basically need to get rid of this entire back plate by just selecting all the polygons. I'll just show you quickly what I do basically. And then just get rid of that like that and click delete, and that basically gets rid of that entire section. So what I need to do is I need to do it with this as well, right? So like that. So now I've just deleted all that and it's gone. So now if I put that in, it actually fits in the boot perfectly. I think that's as nigh on perfect as I think I'm gonna get, right? So that's the two prosthetic elements that I'm going to add, so the hand and the knee. So now what we need to do is we click all. You need to go file, export selected. You can just do normal export, but you know, you do whichever. And type it in stormtrooper unrigged. There we go. Embed media if you want to, it's not essential. Click OK. And now what we're going to do, now that that's been exported and saved, what we're going to do is we're going to go into Reallusion Autorig and rig this separately with that software. So we're now in Autorig Accurig, which is Reallusion's Autorig software, the brand new one that's free to download. And I tell you what, this software is amazing, right? If you have any issues with rigging or re-rigging any of your characters, just chuck it in here. Right, certain characters you've got to be a bit careful with, and it does take a bit of trial and error, and I'll show you exactly what I mean with the Stormtrooper. But if you can get it right properly the first time, or even if you can get it right at all, it is an amazing bit of software. So, to get it, so I'll show you just briefly what I mean by that. So if I click choose file and I go into where I was before, click Stormtrooper Unrigged, wait for it to import, and we'll see our model that we had in 3ds Max, which is right here, right? So obviously you've got the prosthetic knee and you've got the hand. So now if you click rig body, now what it'll do is it'll rig the head and the neck as it sees the different body parts, right? Now normally this will be okay. However, because the Stormtrooper's got a helmet on, when this software auto weight paints itself, it'll weight paint the helmet as connected to the neck, and it'll blend it a bit. So I'll leave it just as that, just to show you what I mean, and then I'll come back to it and fix it, just to show you what it does automatically. Right, so if I go to my hand rig, but that's what's also really good about this software. And I suppose when I said at the start you won't have to skeletal rig or weight paint anything, maybe that was a little bit false, but it is literally just putting little dots where the different bones are. Now, to me, that's not skeletal binding or weight painting. It's literally doing it all for you, just putting the markers where the different joints are. So, for me, if it's either this or doing it all in, like, Blender or, I don't know, 3ds Max or Maya or whatever, I would choose this any day as long as it works. Now, like I said before, certain models don't actually work that great. But for the most part, like if I can get it to work with the Stormtrooper decently, then I can get it to work, then it'll work with the majority of models. Again, it's a little bit iffy when it gets to armor. That's the only part that it gets a bit weird around. So, this is a bit, now I'm going to show you what you can do if your bone like mappings are a little bit off. So, the most of this is actually alright. So the finger's a little bit offset, so I'm just going to move those right onto the end of the finger bones. And then, but it's a thumb that seems to be like quite off. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to maneuver the little triangle just so this is where the thumb's supposed to be facing. So it says this going should be perpendicular to the thumbnail. So the thumbnail will be here on a normal hand, so it needs to be pointing this way. And this is the top thumb joint, which actually should go on the cog. There's actually the joint right here, and then this one should go here. Right, so that is about as nigh on as you're going to get. Again, we can come back and fix it a little bit later on, but for the sake of what we're doing today, this will be absolutely fine. And if you go to left hand again, it's not perfect by any stretch, but it's done a decent job for it to be automatic. So what I'm going to do is, again, like I did with the right hand, I'm going to just maneuver things around just to make sure it's actually as good as it can be. And again, the more you want this to be accurate and the better quality you want this, the more like effort you need to put into making sure that it's all rigged correctly and all the little dots are in the right place, because you just need to make sure that the more accurate you want it, the more accurate you need to place the dots. So I'm not being particularly accurate here, so it might look a little bit off, but if you're doing it properly, and if I was going to do it properly, I'd make sure they're all exactly where they should be. So, that's it for the hands. Let's finalize the character, and I'll show you what I mean when I say that the body is a little bit weird when it comes to armor. Now, this might actually completely shock me, and it might actually work perfectly fine, but in my experience in the past, it hasn't, and I'll show you exactly what I mean. Right, so, now as you can see, it's actually worked remarkably well on its default. Now, I'm not sure if you can see with the helmet, right? It's a bit difficult to see with this animation, it's only very basic, but the helmet, especially the bottom of it, sort of like molds and moves with the head movement. If I go to something a little bit more, so like this for example, which is a little bit more strenuous, you can see it's not a lot, That's actually worked a lot better than I thought it would do, but it's like the helmet is connected, the helmet is moving with the neck, right? Now that's a bit strange, but disregard that, it's actually worked really good on its defaults, right? You know, and the prosthetics have actually, you know, they work perfectly. I think we got it pretty much nigh on perfect. And if we go into acting with, let's say, a walk cycle, the knee even worked pretty darn good as well, which, like I said, I'm quite impressed with. Now, if we go in just a hand and get, like, a hand position, if we just go a little bit closer, like I said, it's not perfect. The thumb's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but that isn't half decent. That's pretty bloody good, I think. You know, and considering that this is all automatic via the system itself and the AI that it uses, that's bloody good. So, just to show you how to fix the helmet issue, just to get the helmet perfect, what you can do is if you go back to the body rig and go up close, what you can do is if you bring the neck downwards towards like more the chest area and bring the head down by where the chest is, what that will then do is move the head around the neck, so the head bone will be around the neck. So then what that will do is then as the neck moves, the head will still move with the helmet and it'll still work okay, but you'll be moving their neck instead of the head. What you can actually do is just leave it all as defaults and then take it into Blender and 3D or 3ds Max and edit the painting of the weights on the helmet so that the helmet doesn't actually move with the body. Now, I'm not going to do that because the point of this video was to show you how to do it without going into any like Blender or 3ds Max. This is the hand demo, and as you can see, the helmet looks better now. Right, and the hands actually, like I said, doing this little hand demo actually looks really good. You know, considering that this is actually all AI based, this is bloody amazing, I tell you. If I go back to the test animation we were doing before, the helmet now is sort of its own separate entity, which is nice. Look at that, it is nigh on perfect. And it still moves around like a head. It's not like the neck is moving and the head sort of staying static, it's actually moving like a head. Disregard for the time being these little gaps in the body. That's literally an issue and an error within Autorig. Now, I was a bit disconcerted when I first came across this, because you can see in the helmet, it's sort of like got rid of little parts of the helmet. Don't worry about it, it's absolutely fine. So, what you need to do is you need to go export FBX. You can choose whichever version you want it for. I'm going to use it for Unreal because that's what I want to show it in. But you can, there's all sorts of various different presets, whether it be Maya, 3ds Max, Unity, Blender, Motion Builder, whatever. So I'm going to go Unreal Engine and click export because that's what I want to export it in. So now let's name this as Stormtrooper Rigged, right? But before we do that, what we also want to do is we want to go to upload to Accurig, right? Now what that does is that uploads the model to the Accurig website, which you have your Accurig profiles, where all the different animations. So what it essentially does is Accurig and Mixamo, their default positions for their skeletons is T-pose. Right, now you saw the Stormtrooper at the start of the video, it was in Alt-A pose, or A pose, or whatever you want to call it. Right, now that doesn't universally work with Accurig and Mixamo, but Autorig auto-creates it, automatically makes it into T-pose. So if I just go into pose and say, so that's the Alt-A pose, which is in by default, but it automatically defaults the pose into the A pose. Right? Now that is so useful because it now universally works with Accurig. Right? Now, before we go into Accurig, I wanted to show you just quickly, if you've got multiple models you want to use Accurig with, what I would heavily advise you to do is go File, Save Autorig Data, and save it as, let's say, Stormtrooper Rigged Data. Right? Now, what this is that basically saves the bone mapping to the model that you've actually rigged within the software. Because what Autorig's Accurig software website does is it uploads it to the Accurig website. However, it only allows you to upload one at a time. So if you don't save the data, what it does, what you have to do is you need to re-rig it every single time. But if you've got various different, let's say you go for, let's say, a normal Stormtrooper, and then you go for this Stormtrooper, you re-rig it again, that skeleton is going to be different from the one that you had before. So does that make sense? So what that means then is if I just exit out of Autorig, So let's say I swap this Stormtrooper out and I re-rigged a regular Stormtrooper, so everything was at default, a default Stormtrooper. If I then wanted to go back and redo this one, normally what you'd have to do is you have to go back, go to the unrigged skeleton, re-rig it again, but what that would mean is that the Stormtrooper's skeleton was actually going to be different, and you can't actually do what I'm going to in Unreal Engine. Now, and that means that if you import the animation with the same skeleton that's already imported into the engine, it automatically pair and retarget the animation. And I'll show you what about that later, but if you're going to remap the model skeleton every single time, it's not going to work out correctly, it's going to deform. So what you can do, so that's the default. Now, if you go File, Load Accurig, and then double click this and click it and click Open, what that'll do is it'll import the rig data, and it will automatically change the positions to what we had before. And that goes for the hand rig as well. Exactly perfect. And then you can re-upload that to Accurig, and it'll work exactly the same skeleton as what we've had before, because it's the exact same data. So that means that when we go into Unreal Engine, there's no conflicts, right? Into Accurig. So you've got this skeleton selected. If we go into motion and click free, there's a load of free animations. There's a load of paid for animations, which you can use, well, not at the moment, obviously, but there's some that you can pay for and there's some that are free, right? So these are the free ones that I've got. If you just take a preview of some of them, that's a run to a blast, right? And again, to be perfectly honest, it actually works remarkably well. With the prosthetic and everything, it's actually quite amazing how well it works. It's actually quite weird to see a Stormtrooper doing those kind of moves. So let's go for one that is completely brand new, right? Let's go, yeah, let's do that. So let's add it to cart. It's free, so it's alright. Right, now what you can do is you can click download, and then download the file onto your desktop. I'm going to download it into the folder just so it's all collectivated in the right place. Right, so that file's now downloaded. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to open up Unreal Engine into my little render environment, and I'm going to show you what it looks, how to import both the skeleton and the mesh that we've re-rigged, as well as the actual animation. Alright guys, so we're now in Unreal Engine, we're in my little render environment again. Ignore all the little bits and bobs that I've got flying around. It's just me testing out things. So like I tried to make Emperor Palpatine in a metahuman. It didn't go quite to plan. I think it looks alright, but it's not 100% accurate by any stretch of the imagination. There's me testing out an energy still, which if you watch my Instagram you would have seen, but not on my YouTube. So if you want to see little behind the scenes things on Traitor 3 or like Unreal Engine experiments, go on my Instagram, link in the description down below, and you'll be able to see what I've been working on. So what we are going to do now is I've already made a folder for the Autorig thing, and what I'm going to do is just quickly show you. So what we've got here is we've got the rigged Stormtrooper, right? So what you do is just import it like that, import it straight away, it's all good. Right, now this won't have the textures auto-assigned to it. I think the Stormtrooper textures are auto-assigned, but I think they look weird. Now, I might be completely wrong, but I can't remember how they import. Yeah, right, so they import fade, and that's literally just because the textures are in the wrong positions. It shouldn't be on translucent, it should be opaque. Just go into just click the actual material node here, go to blend mode, and it says translucent, click it and just click opaque, and that should fix it. Right, so that's that, right? So bring that into the world. I'm not going to rig actually no, I've got the texture, so I am actually going to rig them, but not for the moment. To do that in the final render, right? So that's the Stormtroopers materials, right, already set up. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back into the folder, and where we've got Accurig Unreal and we go motion, if we go stand to sit and we import it in, now automatically Unreal Engine will detect the skeleton, this skeleton that is in the same folder that it's in, right? Now, a lot of the times this doesn't work because if the skeleton's even slightly different, it'll break the animation, right? But because these animations are from the exact same skeleton as the model that we've imported, it'll work perfectly, right? So if we click import all, what it'll do is if you close down the window, we've now got this animation right here that works perfectly. Right, and this is what I mean when I said to you before about don't worry about the fact that in Autorig and in Actor they are missing parts on the mesh, because as you can see now that we've got the model here, it's absolutely perfect. There's no missing gaps or anything. It's exactly as it should be, right? And it is literally as simple as that, right? The hand works. It's not perfect by any means. I think the hand bone is in the wrong place, I think. But the knee works perfectly fine. It clips a bit, but it clips anyway because of the way the model's set up. But again, it works pretty much perfectly. And it works with Actor, which is very, very helpful. And it also works with anything that any mocap that uses a T-pose by default. So, for example, Glycon's default, or APS's default, or Rococo. This will work with Rococo seamlessly, which is really, really impressive. So, that's that. Now, what I'm going to show you quickly is if we go into Actor and we go load character, if we load this unrigged character again, but this time we re-rig it like normally, but as close to the original as we can. So if we go rig body, we're not going to use the import data. I just wanted to show you why the import data is important. And all we just changed was move the neck bone down and then move the head bone down ever so slightly, like that. Right, we go right hand, rig the right hand. Right, so now what we can do, again, move the finger bones just like that. What I'm going to do, I'm going to cut ahead in the video to where we were beforehand. Just to save you going through this rigging all again. So we'll be back in a second. Alright, so I've re-rigged it as pretty much as close to what I had originally. So what you see on the screen on the side is an overlay of the original, and this is what I've got now in 3D space. If we go back to the right hand, this is what I've got in 3D space concurrently, and this is what on the side is what we had originally. So I can't, like I said, I can't actually see, but I'll put a bit of text on the screen now just to say, you know, this is just, you know, this is either really accurate or it's really not. I think it's pretty much there. So let's go left hand, let's go finalize character. Right, so now as you can see, it works perfectly fine. You know, it's not perfect by any means, but it's good enough. So if we go no, we won't go export. I want to show you why you need to save your data, right? So if we go upload to Actor, now bearing in mind, this is the exact same model, rigged in as close to the exact same way as we could before. Change in the rig causes so many problems. Now I say that, and this is when we'll get to it, and it actually turns around and then says to me, no, it's actually perfectly fine. And then I go, oh, okay, alright then, never mind. But I've tried this before and it's not actually worked that great. So that's why it's crucial. I'm going to show you why it's crucial to save your animation data. Right, so this is the second one, re-rigged in a different way. So let's go with the exact same animation. Where's it gone? Stand to sit. There you go, download. I've had to do it with I had to make a separate folder and import it again because it's taking the old animation data and putting it into making it work. But that's not how it works. So with a brand new one, actually, hang on a minute. Why does it work? Okay then, well, never mind. It works absolutely fine. I hate when I get defeated with 3D stuff because I like to know that I know what I'm talking about, but it's fine. It works all right. Oh my god. Oh, but either way, even if it does work, which it seems to work absolutely fine, right, which actually makes life a lot easier. However, I still highly advise and recommend that you save your rig data, because you can tell the way we did it, I was only changing things slightly. However, I don't know how much of things you can change before it starts messing up. So, that is what I have time for in this video here. This has been a bit of a roller coaster for me. This has not gone the way I expected it to, so hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy, don't forget to smash that like button and hit that subscribe button for more awesome gaming type content or like tutorial type content. Again, I had no intention of doing this video, but I was so gobsmacked by so this is a function I'm actually going to use for Traitor. And so one of the Fireteam Chimera members has got a prosthetic hand. You see it in one of the renders I've already done, but I've wanted a better hand, and I wanted to add a prosthetic leg, right? Now, the hand that she has got actually is been weighted properly and manually in 3ds Max. But now I can use Autorig. I can actually add whatever joint I want to, and it works perfectly fine. So That's the reason why, and it works so well. I thought, you know what, I've just got to do a video on this because this is actually insane. So, anyway, hope you guys have enjoyed this video. That's all from me, and I shall see you all later. Bye!